So welcome everybody. If I didn't meet you, I'm Sally. I'm the owner and one of the artists, and this is my significant fellow over here, Michael, and he's one of the artists here too. And that's Patrick with the tank top. He's our son. And then Madeline's here. There she is. Madeline's here. So today we're having Patrick and Madeline are making glass for us, and I'm going to narrate what they're doing. And I'm also going to video it. We'll see how that goes. I was going to do a live stream, but I chickened out. I couldn't figure out where to put it and how bad it would be. So, we just finished rebuilding our furnace. This is the first demo. Before COVID, this is the first demo we've had since before COVID. So we're really excited to have anybody here. So thanks for coming. Patrick designed and we built this furnace. It took us a lot longer than we thought for a lot of reasons. But there he is. He's taken a nice little gather of glass. So when you put the pipe in and you turn it 2 to 3 times, and that's called a gather. And so he's got that now on the pipe cooler, and he's cooling that pipe so that he can reach down on it and be closer. So the first thing we're going to make today is a pumpkin. But he's going to shape that gather of glass, and then he's going to take a little puff there and put it in, and it's going to expand like magic and form a bubble. So the air goes to the area of least resistance. It gets a little superheated by the pipe, which is hot, and then it goes to the glass, which is hot, and expands. So we say that glass blowing is all about breath, heat, and imagination. What he's sitting on is called the bench. You can have the bench and the tool table as one piece or as two. We have them as two. And he's got the jacks in his hand now, and the jacks are the workhorse of the studio. You use them for all sorts of things. So he's using them now to shape that bubble, and it also cools it. So he's wanting to cool that bubble because he's going to gather over it. You can see that the color that was in the pipe on the moil, that's where the glass has just covered the end of the pipe, has gotten less red. It looks a muddier, almost a brown. And you know that the pipe is getting cooler then. So he's wanting to cool it because he's going to take another gather in the furnace over that bubble. And if you go in and you're too hot with your bubble when you go in, you can lose it. It's not so important if you lose it when it's clear, but if you have color on there, you don't want to lose it in the furnace, because then your furnace basically turns to that color glass forever. So you have to buy a new pot, you have to redo your furnace. So you always have a separate pot for each color that you use. So now he's got a second gather of glass. So you can see that it's hot, you can see how it's moving. So it's like a dance. Patrick turns that pipe so he can take the lead with it. And now he's going to put on some color. This is gold iris. We're making a pumpkin first because it's pumpkin season. And so he's putting, this is called fret. Fret are shards of glass in various colors. The colors that we use are made from metallic oxides, just like gemstones in nature. This one's called iris gold. It is not made of gold. That yellowy color, I'm not sure what's in there. Yellow usually means sulfur, but this is more an amber to gold, and I'm not exactly sure what makes that. I could look it up. I should know it. I'm a geoscientist. I'm sorry? Cadmium? He says cadmium. I don't know. He's probably right. There's cadmium yellow, so that might be what it is to make that iris gold. So he's in what we call the glory hole or reheat furnace now. Our main furnace is electric. It's on 24/7. You can't cut it off. It takes about an hour for it to come down and come off. I mean, a month for it to come down and for us to take it back up. The glory hole or reheat furnace is made from not made from, it's a gas and combustion furnace, and the heat comes in from the side. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to keep talking, but I don't need to be up here anymore. So I'm going to move back here and just keep talking so I can take care of this video as it goes. So he's in the reheat furnace now, and that way I won't be in front of you all either. And the doors on those reheat furnaces can open up, and you'll see that later on if you stay for the second demo where we're going to make a wavy bowl. So he's going to add some more color. He'll probably do 2 or 3 dips on this. He's also got some threads of glass called stringers, and they're sitting on, they made them right before y'all arrived. They're sitting on the top of that metal table, which is called a marker. And those stringers, he's going to pick those up and put them on the concrete. So Madeline has turned on what we call our fluffy torch. And when she presses the trigger on that, it's going to make a noise, and it can scare you. It's not going to come away, and it's not going to flame and get you, but it might blow some of those stringers off of the table, depending on how careful she is and how she aims it. So she's sitting on the stool now because she's going to blow at her breath to the pipe. We have it in a wooden block now. That's a wooden block. All our wooden tools are made of cherry wood. Cherry has a very dense grain and it can hold that water well. And all the blocks are kept in water their entire life until they basically burn out. Theoretically, they're not burning, and I'll tell you that story the next time he uses a block. So he's shaping the tool, the glass on a steel marble. He's adding a little breath in there. You can see that bubble expand. Now, every time you touch the glass, it cools that space. So you touch it with intent. You make sure that you're touching it where it needs to cool down. And then when you blow into it, it heats the area that you have not cooled. It enlarges the area that you have not, it has not cooled down. So see how carefully she's heating up those stringers. We just want them to get a little warm. We don't want them to be really cold when Patrick picks them up, because hot things stick to hot things and cold things don't stick to anything. So the working temperature for our furnace is 2,050 degrees. The working temperature for that glory hole is around 2,200. It's not quite as efficient as the furnace is. All right, so he's going to come and gather up those now, and he puts it down, and he's just rolling over them, keeping them warm, and he might do this a couple of times, he might not, I don't know. It depends on how many he picks up and if he wants to use them all. And you can see little stringers sort of hanging off of that. If you need to, if you want to move them closer, there's a tweezer right by you. Too late. So he's going to add some. You see how he's angled it significantly. He's adding them to what's going to be the bottom of the pumpkin right now. But this color that he's using, the iris gold, is typically transparent. So unless you reduce it, and so you will see the ones on the bottom also. The area around the benches is called a working pad, especially that where like Madeline and Patrick are standing. That's the area that you don't go in when you're not working the glass. Everybody has to choreograph to be in that space. They tell each other, I'm behind or I'm in front, whatever, so that they're not running into each other with hot glass in their hands. So we have another little marber over there, and Madeline just used her hand to wipe it off, and Patrick's going to shape that again. Rolling up the stringers onto it, it got it a little out of shape. And you sort of want to keep your shape the way you want it, so you can center your bubble and then blow out something that's even and has the same thickness all around. So now he's going into a mold. This is called an optic mold. This is where the ridges for the pumpkin come. So he blows into it, and now the glass has ridges. I'll go over there, and oh, sorry, I forgot I walked in front of the squelch zone. All right, so he's using the jacks to cool the bottom, to cut in what is called the jack line while Madeline blows. And this is similar to the mold that he blew into. This would be the stem mold, just so you can see it. Trying to avoid that squelch zone. We always laugh. It takes usually longer to put the color on than it does to blow the piece. So why isn't it called glass coloring? So does everybody know what glass is made of? The main constituent is silica. Now a lot of times we say sand, but sand is a grain size, not a composition. I'm a geologist. Silica is the composition. And this is silica, this is called soda lime glass, sorry. So it has sodium and ash added into it. He's paddling the bottom of the pumpkin and putting a little dimple in the bottom so that it will sit flat. And you can see the ridges. And so Madeline's going to go and gather for a stem. The stem's going to be green. And Patrick's going to let you take a closer look at the pumpkin as it stands now. The pumpkin is basically finished at this point, except for the stem. So Madeline's going into the furnace. She's going to gather some glass, and then she's going to let that cool just a little bit, and then she'll gather some more, and then she'll start getting her color. She'll probably use 2 or 3 coats of color for it.
Yes.
We had put that shield over there in case somebody was sitting right there. That's our knockoff table. And it always makes us nervous when we're knocking something off and a kid is sitting right next to it, or anybody else. So we put the shield so we could keep anything from knocking off, but it also doesn't allow you to see the stem being put on, and the stem is the most interesting part, or one of the most interesting parts. So Patrick is keeping that warm while Madeline is heating up, coloring, and shaping, putting the glass into the optic mold. And so to do this, they're sharing that hole so that they can reheat. A lot of times you might have, if you're doing production, you might have both holes on and two teams working, and so you have to be really concerned about where you are and how you're going. But today they've just got two people working in one hole, and that works. I'm sorry, did you ask a question? No? I thought I heard something, I'm sorry. So Patrick's going to heat that up, and Madeline is marking the back side of that stem. Now to cool it down and shape it. Patrick's taking it over to the knockoff table. He's knocked off the pumpkin, and then Madeline is going to bring the stem over to him. And he takes it and he pushes it down onto the hole in the pumpkin, and he lets gravity pull it up a little. And he's got diamond shears in his hand, and he's holding onto the pumpkin with that, or pressing on the pumpkin with that. Now he's pulled it up, he's turned the pipe, and he's got a stainless steel rod, and he's going to wrap the stem around that rod. He's cooling the base of the pumpkin stem as he does it. And see, he wraps it around the rod, and then he will manipulate it so it's in a nice position, and then he'll use his diamond shears to cut the glass, and then he will use the MAP gas torch to heat the stem a little bit, so make sure there's nothing sharp on it. And then Madeline is going to be putting it in our oven. Today we're having to use our top load annealer, which is much more difficult to load in because our other one wasn't down from last night when we started. And so Madeline grabs that, and then she has to go up those steps and basically put her face in the heat. That's 960 degrees, and then put it down on a shelf. We have a shelf that's elevated in there. So that was the first piece, the pumpkin, just for the holiday seasons, or the past holiday season, or Thanksgiving.
I know. It's like a perfect dance here.
Yeah. So they're dancing well together. Madeline's only been back with us for 2 days, so she's doing a pretty good dance. She worked with us before, but it's been 2 years. Yeah.
Because of COVID thing, or I had moved to work at a different studio and then came back here.
She went to Missouri, right?
Yeah.
Missouri. So she's back, and we're so happy to have her. All right, so now their plan is to make a wavy bowl or plate. Maybe I can use Michael as the model, and he can take this up in front of you. So they're gonna make a wavy bowl or plate. It's probably gonna be bigger than this, but I don't know. The clamshell is usually closed. When they make what's called a clam, we call them the tacos here, because that's just it. So you see it has a base on the bottom, and it can sit on a table or hang from a wall. Thank you, Michael, for your modeling skills there. I hope that, it didn't get on video. Oh no. There.
Oh, he's heartbroken.
He is. All right, so what Madeline's doing right now is picking up color. if you probably can't see it, but there's a black door back there. And on that black door are written the colors that are inside the set point kiln. And so she's going to heat that up a little bit and then pick up the color. And I'm thinking that they hadn't had time to turn it's a set point, so you have to turn it up a little bit before you pick it up, and then go in and pick it up, and then you turn it down. And he just turned it up, and so she beat him a little bit. That's okay, because she's got that nice 3600 degree matte gas torch, and she's heating the end of that glass up. And again, I forgot to video. There, she's doing it there. Heating that end up, and now she's going to put it in the glory hole and heat it up some more, and then probably go over to the set point and pick it up. I just painted that door with chalkboard paint so we could label what's in the set point kiln. So we're happy to have another chalkboard, although we use the floor all the time. Typically we draw what we're going to do if there's some question about it onto the floor. If it's something we haven't done before, we might even write the steps down. So what she did was, there's a piece of color that she picked up, which is color rod. You can see that it's a cylindrical shape. That is, I think, a dark blue, number 41, dark blue. And so everything looks orange when it's hot, but it's not orange, it's going to be dark blue, and they're going to make a wavy bowl or plate like we showed you with it. So she's going to get that hot and shape it into a bell shape, so, or D shape, with the wide part being away from the pipe. And that will then be an overlay. So we're going to show you a color application, which we're going to overlay this onto clear bubble. So I'm going to go over here and just clear off some of those stringers so that they can use. So you saw I just tapped the table gently. I made sure it wasn't hot because I've been known, like everybody else, to put my hand down on a hot surface. And that's not really, yeah, we weld here too. Now you see that that's fatter on the end than it is at the pipe. It's that V shape I was talking about. Now Patrick is gathering on his pipe, and he's going to put a bubble in it, and then they're going to do the overlay.
Did he heat up his pipe in the other one?
Yes, he did. So over on the left is a pipe warmer, and it does keep the pipes warm, but it doesn't get them quite hot enough to really make it hot enough to gather a nice gather. So you want, again, hot on hot. So we've got an operating temperature of 2050 and a pipe that's not very hot. It wouldn't pick up the glass. So he's got the glass on there. He's going to put a little puff of air in there. He's going to cap it, and then that puff is going to go to the glass. I think he's going to do that. And the puff is going to go to the end of the glass and make a bubble. And then he's going to take this bubble and shape it a little bit, and then they're going to do an overlay of that color. And it's going to look sort of like a mushroom when he does that, or a sombrero. And then he's going to marver that. He's going to use that steel table to make it come all the way to the pipe, basically, with the color covering the clear glass.
gotta watch out for is when you're a little bit and you're a little bit on that.
Exactly. What's a smidge?
Well, we have a pie divider to help us with those things. You're laughing, but we do.
Patrick, do you sit up eventually?
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Okay.
All right, so
Come over to the side.
he's standing his pipe up vertically,
Okay.
and he's got the mouthpiece on the top of his shoe because it's cleaner than the floor, theoretically. And then he's asked Madeline to deliver from his right side because he's right-handed and he wants to clip the glass like that. So she's coming and she's going to raise her arm up and drip it down, and he's going to center it and tell her, you know, with his shears how high to put it. And now he flattens it, and that's the mushroom or sombrero that I was speaking of. So this process is called the overlay process. So again, he's going to warm that up, and then he's going to use the marver to move that glass from one end, which is the top, so it's like a compression sock that he's putting around the glass, or pantyhose, depending on how you look at it. So here it is. He's going to squash it down and use the marvering technique to bring that glass all the way down to the top of the pipe. Another job well done. So we're moving that fluffy glass back over to the bench so that we can use it there, because sometimes you have to put some focused heat on the piece.
Yeah, so it's super helpful to have two people.
You can't really do this without two people. A lot of times we have 3 or 4 to make a piece. And when you do, everybody has to know what they're doing. You can't have just 3 or 4 people out there.
Is it better to work when the weather's cool or when the weather's warm?
Well, we like it when it's cool. When it's hot, it's even hotter in here.
But does it affect the pieces?
Not really. It does if there's air that's blowing through. It's that draft of air, a change in the air flow that makes a difference. It shortens the working time. And so if it's really cold in here, it doesn't make a difference as long as there's not a draft of air coming through. And typically when it's cold, we shut that door and shut the back door and turn the fans off and try to get warm. So he's shaping this now. So the plate's going to be, the basic color is going to be blue. That's what this, it's, all of the colors we have a number, and this is 41 dark blue.
I'm also trying to feel some of this color away from the very front of the bubble, the tip of the bubble, because I want the center of the plate to be more clear than the exterior.
So he's basically making a fade from the center going to more denser color on the edges. And that gives the plate a very beautiful look to it. So they're changing that temperature in the set point again because we're going to be picking up another color, which is going to be white. And this is a different type of color, a different vendor. It's called Duro. And this color is much stiffer, so it's more difficult to work with. And blue is a very soft color that heats up easily. So he's adding a little more air to there so he can find his bubble and center it. If you're not careful, you can close your bubble off, and you certainly don't want to do that. I, of course, have never done that.
So that hard line we're seeing is the difference between the colors.
Yeah, that's the clear of the color.
So the red is really the pipe, end of the pipe with clear glass over it. And then the color is that other line where it's darker. So again, he's cooling that pipe off, and that's just a pump with a stew pot in a box. And now he's again really, remember I told you if he goes in with color to gather over it and it's too hot, you can lose your color into the pot. Well, he's making sure it's cooler.
They just say that. Do you need a door on that or no?
I can come over there if you need it.
I should put like a lot on the type. Like not like more than like less than that.
So the guy that is in control of the piece is called the gaffer. And in this instance, Patrick is the gaffer. And so the gaffer is the one that, you do everything the way the gaffer likes. You know, and if something goes wrong, it's the gaffer's fault. It's not anybody else's fault. So Madeline has some glass, and she's fixing that now for a pickup, which is flattening the top and putting glass down the sides of the pipe. And then she'll heat up that flat surface, or maybe not, heat up that flat surface again. She's just going to pick it straight up. So she's opened it up, she's picking up a piece of, and Patrick is stripping. He loves to strip in the studio. She's got the white now. See, she picked that up and danced around the optic molds. Did a great job. So she's got the white rod on the end of her pipe, and Patrick has another layer of glass on that. And what they're going to do is prepare the glass that Patrick has to wrap it or thread it with the white. And so we're going to get the white really hot, and we're going to shape it to a pencil shape so it's more pointed at the end. Because we're going to attach that to the moil of the pipe where it's connected to the glass, and then wrap it around that.
Do you like pour water on the foil? I wish we had that spoon.
Where's that bottle?
I don't know.
I'll see if I can find it. It'll be too late then, won't it?
It's okay. I'll call you.
So he's using the wooden block, and theoretically, he's not burning the block. It's sitting on a layer of steam. It's called the Leidenfrost effect. And it's the same thing with the paper that he's using now. So this is the Houston Chronicle. It's about 8 pages,
Still got use of it.
black and white. Best use we have. We love reading it too. We just never get to do that. We just use it here in the studio. Color pages add too much friction, so those aren't used. So I was looking for the bottles, the plastic bottles we have that are squirters that have water in them, but I couldn't find them. There, we cleaned the studio and somebody put them up. So Patrick is adjusting the edge now and the connection between the color rod and the pipe, the clear glass on the pipe, so that there's a good connection. And then he's going to heat that up. And Madeline's checking out the threader and how it spins.
How do you take like one more big flash or whatever?
Okay.
Or like maybe you're gonna build up.
Maybe you're gonna let.
I'll build up.
Okay.
So when he says take a flash, that means you're going to go in and for X amount of time and heat it. And the build-up, you're going to go in and do a flash, and you're going to bring it out, and then you're going to go right back in and build up the heat in the piece. So he's heating the white that's going to be threaded, and Madeline has the dark blue.
Should I just take a couple flashes?
So Patrick's going to shape that into a point. And again, this Duro is really hard to work with, and so he took over working that. Not because Madeline can't do it, but because he likes to have control. He's his mother's son.
My daughter's talking about what characteristics. Yeah.
All right, so Madeline's gone to the threading machine. Patrick is getting another heat, and he'll come back, and then when he's ready, he'll come up and touch. They've got a yoke there. He's going to use that to hold up the end of the pipe, and he's going to touch the color to the moil, that area where the clear glass is on the pipe, and that part won't be used, and so he thinks he needs another heat, so she's going to come in and heat with him.
I will tell you one thing. When they thread the piece, if you've ever seen an H-125 video where a spider does a web, that's the way the threading goes. It only takes a few seconds.
Actually,
It
two
will
of them.
thread the whole ball.
All right, so here he's coming.
It makes for an interesting video.
He's touching it now, and she's moving it, and it's threading. And if it goes well, they'll get a nice even thread across the whole piece. And he's going to use the flicking technique. And there it is.
Am I gonna like save this?
Yeah.
Okay. So can I just put that in that one?
Now,
Yeah? Okay, I'm gonna just clip the end off and then I think we're gonna save this part.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So Michael makes pieces with the pulled out thread.
Want me to get out? So I might have to fold this or should I just take it and seal it back?
So they're sharing the hole. Usually one person goes down. The person that's usually what happens is that the piece that's inconsequential doesn't get on the yoke, and the other piece gets on the yoke. So Patrick's just moving some of that part from the moil down farther on it. And it is hot for him to do that. If any of us tried it, wouldn't last but one click to move it. His hands have, he says he doesn't have any nerves in them anymore.
Like where should I mount this? So on the box.
So this setup we're using makes it easier for you guys to see, but it adds extra steps in for the gaffer. So he has to be faster to get to it and has less time to work it. But the audience gets to see more. You see what nice even lines those made across the piece? And the Duro keeps the consistency. That's why he uses it for stringers and for cane, because it keeps its line width and doesn't fade out as much. Because when he blows that larger, those lines are going to get smaller. Sorry, I forgot. I was putting this here so you could knock that off if you wanted to onto
Okay, I
this.
think I'm just gonna knock it into the pickup box. So
Yeah,
maybe,
that'll work.
do you mind opening it?
No, not at all.
I still need like a couple of seconds.
Okay, so I'll take a look at what he's doing. So he's using that paper marver again. There is a lot of, oops. You okay? Gotcha. And if we had, someone working totally and Madeline wasn't doing that, she would be keeping that water, that paper wet for him so that sparks like that wouldn't fly up.
It's off, but it's still on.
You ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're back. We're probably going to get this hot, maybe gather over it and blow. So you see, glass blowing is a very process-oriented art. There's a set of steps that you go through, and you really can't skip them. You can learn to do them more efficiently and effectively, but you can't skip them. So right now he's letting that cool down. He's going to go in and gather over it. He's going to get a little water while it cools down. Now if y'all didn't know, you can come and make things with us. So pumpkins, ornaments.
Everything you see here.
Yeah, anything and everything you see here. And it'll be Patrick and Madeline and Eric and Marta, who will be back from the UK next week. That's our working team right now in the studio.
I'm not going to close the door.
Okay, all good.
I'm out of the script.
Okay.
So he's going to go in and gather, and then he's going to strip the excess glass off into the stainless steel pot that's down there that has some water in it. And he's going to do that because you want to get you want to get a nice gather and have the glass be even on all the sides, and that's how you do that. And so as he adds glass to it, it also gets heavier. And you see that he came out holding that differently than he'd held it before, because it added basically some additional weight, significant amount of weight to it. Most jobs for glass blowers say that you need to consistently be able to lift 50 pounds all day long. Work in high temperatures, and it isn't a lie. Yeah, you have to be agile. You need a larger block.
It's fun, actually.
If you want me to like keep
All right, he's going to use the paper marver. Basically, you can shape your glass with whatever you have in your hand. The marver, the paper marver, your jacks, the blocks. You know, some people have a preference of what they like to use, but Patrick is pretty good at all of them. I can't tell you what his preference is. He may have a preference, but I've not visibly been able to see it.
Never drank his water.
I'm sorry?
The mommy in me said he never drank his water.
He will. He's had 2 of those already. So she's managing the doors or doing something. Oh, she's heating up the jacks. So Patrick is shaping this. So I think Madeline just put some wax on the jacks. And then Patrick's coming around. He asked her to have the fluffy on because he's going to heat up that backside, because the next thing he has to do is put what's called the jack line in. The jack line will be where we detach this piece from this pipe and put it on another pipe. He's going to heat back up, and he'll do heating, he'll heat the parts that he wants. To get that back part heated, you have to go all the way in, because the burner's several inches within it, there's one burner on the right-hand side of that. And that's the sweet spot. And the rest of it you have to figure out. So now we're going to probably shape and blow, or jack and blow. So he has to, if we had a third person, they would be shielding Patrick's arm from the heat. That would be their job. At that point in time, that would have been their job. So she's opening the doors. You see we have tools to open the doors. We have only one set of doors on that particular glory hole. On the one next to it, there's 2 sets, and on the big one, there's 2 sets. So again, he's putting in the jack line. And Madeline is blowing. And you can imagine that if you have to blow for that long, you have to do diaphragmatic blowing, or you have to stick your tongue on the end of the pipe and take a breath and keep on blowing.
Starting to look blue now.
Yeah. Well, she was holding on to the frame, so. Yes, as it cools off, I thought you were talking about her, but you were talking about the piece. Sorry.
Yeah.
She was looking blue too. Yes, as it cools down, it takes on its color.
Are you a good dancer, Patrick?
He's a wonderful dancer. I haven't seen him dance that much, and I was very surprised when 5 years ago, yesterday was his anniversary, and 5 years ago, when they danced their wedding song, it was fantastic. They did a swing dance, and he was throwing her around in her wedding dress and spinning, and it was pretty cool. I didn't even know he could do that. I don't know where I've been, but not out dancing with them, evidently. what they're getting ready to do is put the foot on. It's the base that the piece would sit on.
I didn't want to go like that.
Just like
Yeah, it's like one or two passes.
Okay, she's going to take that one marver. He's going to sit this up on his foot again. She delivers it. He grabs it. She lets it drip down on top of it. He centers it. Then he's going to clip that. See, it takes a team. So he's using the paddle now to flatten the base. She's capping the end to keep the air inside the bubble, inside the volume of it's there, and he's getting that base nice and flat. He'll also take the jacks and put a little line in between the base and the bottom of the piece, which will allow us to put a wire around that and to hang it on the wall if we want to. So she's capping that. Madeline's going to be getting a puntee soon to take this off of the piece that it's currently on. And yeah, sounds good. He's coming. So he's putting focused heat on the back of that. And he's telling her it's time to gather for the puntee. Okay. All right, so Madeline's going to shape that puntee so that they can take the piece off of the current pipe and put it on the solid puntee. So all the blowing is finished. So Patrick makes sure it's the right temperature. They're wanting to make one straight line with their pipes. He attaches it to the bottom of that, and then he'll use his jacks and some water to tap it off.
He applies water to the jack line, and that's where the crack will start.
Got it?
Yeah.
Gonna be able to hold 50 pounds, I heard.
You want it totally closed?
No, it's okay.
Now?
Yeah.
The
Okay.
form will open like a.
So he's heating this up, and his next step is going to be to open it up a little bit at the bench. So he's gotten it really hot. You can see that the edges are really how it goes from the blue to the red. He's going to use that to flare the inside. I don't know if they plan to put a lip wrap on it or not. No? That's okay. It'll be beautiful. Are you going to open it up this time?
When he starts spinning, you'll see the magic. It will open.
When he comes now, when he comes out this time, he's going to spin it to make the plate. So get ready if you want a video. Here it comes. Woo! Look at that. So you see, if he keeps spinning and spins it fast, that it's flatter, and as he gets it down a little bit, it becomes more wavy. And so Madeline's putting on the gear to take this and put it into the box. And she won't touch it till he tells her. He puts the water on the back end, on the jack line, well, where the connection is between the puntee and the base. Whoa. And then he uses the back gas torch just to get the nibs off, because there might be some nibs there.
Okay, we can go in.
Gotcha. Woo, good job. Yeah. Nice work, guys. So I know Patrick and Madeline are up for answering any questions you might have about the process you just saw for the pumpkin or the plate. And they're feeling a little ease of,
Take a breath.
What was that? Oh, thank you, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really moves. Yeah.
So there's a chemical reaction